Yes.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's been a while.
Yeah,
guys.
it has. It has. We were in Florida.
Yes.
But we're back.
Tanning.
And tanning. Did you catch episode 1 of Celtic City?
I did.
What did you think?
I liked it a lot. I think it's a little tough for some people to go back to like the late 50s with the NBA. And it's
You mean
maybe
the youngins?
I will say I got to go to the premiere a couple weeks ago and I got to see episode 5. And I thought that one had a ton of momentum and a lot of really interesting stuff about Boston. I heard some of the lead that Curtis had, and I think that episode is going to tie even more into it. But they do it in a really thoughtful way, in a really compelling way. I thought episode 1 was good, but I think it's going to get a lot better.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I like the history of it. I thought Curtis was spot on this morning, where you can't live in the moment now and understand without understanding the history. And so some of that stuff about, it's just interesting when you think about a different time, like Bob Cousy talking about, he wanted the Celtics to draft him. Red didn't. So then he went and started a business doing driving instruction as opposed to playing in the NBA because there was only 8 teams or 6 teams or whatever there was. So
and
it was really interesting stuff, I thought.
It's really cool because I think with the Celtics, one of the things that makes the franchise so special is that you have that history, that perspective. When I was still at the Herald, I got the opportunity to be in the room, sit down with Tommy Heinsohn and with Bob Cousy and with Satch and listen to them talk about that era of the NBA and how incredibly different it was to travel from town to town on train and to be going to Rochester, New York as your big game, or Syracuse.
Yeah.
And like, it's hard for us to think about the NBA today. And as a fan of the NBA today, it's fascinating to hear the perspective of the league when it was teams were constantly folding and starting back up, and the Celtics have been there all the way through.
Was the episode 5 because Larry Bird's in it? Is that like the Bird episodes around there? Because it's always fun to like listen to Bird and people's perspective on Bird when he played, and that's kind of more my wheelhouse than the obviously the Bill Russell era and the Tommy Heinsohn. But so that's where you'll kind of get that.
Yes. So I don't know how much we're allowed to divulge, but episode 5 it's safe to say it's about the 80s Celtics.
Right.
I always want to say Celtics Magic because it really did feel like Celtics versus Magic. Celtics Lakers.
Yep.
And it's you think about that and you're like, oh God, how much more can you dig up from that? We know everything about it. They have fresh new sit downs. They have never before seen archival footage. It's really cool.
Speaking of the Lakers, are you coming over to Team Kurtspiracy?
No.
I mean,
why? Because the Lakers are amazing since they got Luka?
Yes.
Starting to get better.
Yes.
Well, yeah, of course.
Well, the ratings, though, that Curtis makes a good point that we talked about the ratings so often when it came to the NBA. Then that happens and it's not even discussed anymore. Like, people don't care about that, and people are just talking about how it's, appointment TV.
Oh,
Lakers.
Now I thought now the conversation was face of the NBA.
Well, that is as well.
That's the conversation.
Just one thing on Bill Russell, I find the stories that he told endlessly fascinating. Like, there was I don't know the name of the writer, McSweeney or something, but in the first episode from this Monday,
the martini.
The martini.
Yeah.
And how Bill Russell ordered a martini and offered it to the writer, and the writer accepted it and drank right away. And that was Bill Russell's way of knowing if he could trust someone, because a white man at that time
drinking from the same glass
was
not
noteworthy. Which is just wild. And also the story he told about punching a guy in the face when he wouldn't call him by his name at college. Like, he is they don't make him like that anymore. I don't think.
No.
It also looked like there were a lot of players when you got to see episode 5, that there were some players in attendance to see it as well.
Oh, yeah. I would say probably 80% of the team was there.
So they're all in support of the entire thing.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, you never know with that. Like, what is a team requirement or what? Because the team worked with HBO, Bill Simmons on the entire project, but I'll say, I was behind Jason Tatum during the screening, and he stayed through the whole thing. He wasn't on his phone. He was very locked in. It was cool.
I bet those guys are, though, because there's so much. Because when you bring up the Celtics organization, there's so much history with it. So when you get younger guys who might not have, really understood what Bill Russell meant, but see guys around like that, you don't get to see Larry Bird often, but I've seen Tatum interact with Bird, and he knows the magnitude of what Bird meant to this organization.
Well, Tatum's in episode 1 talking about understanding the Celtics ethos, which has continued since they started,
right?
And it's really important to the organization, and it obviously leads to success.
Yeah, and they do a good job with that. The organization of being able to get the younger guys to understand the past.
When does the face of the league thing go away?
Never.
No, okay. I'm with you.
It doesn't. Okay.
So I don't understand why it's like such a controversial thing. I think it's people being worried about when LeBron does retire, are you going to fall into that no man's land that happened after MJ finally left for good, after he finished with the Wizards. And then you're in this era of just, like Detroit is winning a random championship, no offense, but it's just not as compelling to the casual fan. I feel like that's what the conversation is born out of. Is Jason Tatum really a dominant enough personality to be the face of the league? And can it be an American player?
It should be mostly, I understand, because Wiggy brings up the drama all the time, but it should be about his game. Is he a dominant enough player to be the face of the league?
Should, but I do understand from a perspective of entertainment that fans want to feel like they know a guy, like a guy is producing some kind of drama, not necessarily like he's got beef with people, but drama in a narrative way, so that you've got the good versus bad, you've got your team versus who you think are the villains. And
Tatum just wants to play.
And I think it annoys people a little bit sometimes that it feels like Tatum likes everybody else in the league.
And Gilbert Arenas said it best. He said Tatum is already the face of the league because when he brought up past players that were the face of the league, it was more about the drama and the negativity surrounding them. So it was like the Kobe. It was the drama and the negativity around them when he was kind of the face of the league. Then when you got to LeBron, it wasn't about LeBron, the basketball player. It was more about the drama and negativity around LeBron, which has made him the face of the league. And then he said, well, now when you talk about Jason Tatum, it's really about the drama and negativity. So he was like, that shows he's already the face of the league because that's what those guys generally have to deal with. Being the face of the league is, all the drama that comes their way. So he was like, he was already the face of the league because of the drama and negativity.
Wait, so you think he's the face of the league?
Who, Tatum?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say he is. I would say LeBron's still that guy, but he's kind of like waiting for LeBron to retire so the mantle could then be handed to him.
I would say it's LeBron, Steph Curry, then Tatum, maybe.
I'd agree with that. I think it's still, and even I'd throw Kevin Durant in as irrelevant as his team feels right now.
But those are the big three old guys, right? They're always going to be.
And that's I think what people are talking about with the league right now is the speculation of who's going to be the next generation. And I think people just need to allow for guys to surprise you. I don't think anybody, when they're watching him play at Davidson in March Madness, that they thought Steph Curry was going to completely change the look of the league a couple years later, but he did.
But don't you feel like that? We know the old core, the old three, but don't you think that when you think about the younger guys, it's really Tatum? Because who else would you really put in Tatum's category that deals with the drama, that's a great player, but has all that other stuff that
SGA?
Nobody really talks about him like that, though.
People talk a lot about Giannis when it comes to, I think he could be a face of the league.
It could be Luka.
There
is a lot about Luka in a way. Luka's
My name
brand,
is Luker.
When you talk about getting the drama built up,
right.
Everything that's going sideways with the Mavs right now, which could be a Harvard Business School case study at this point of how you can collapse a franchise. Everything going wrong with the Mavs and everything they continue to put out there is boosting Luka's brand. Yeah. Like Luka with the hookah. That's the reason that you trade somebody to LA. That's crazy. And so I think in a way, like he could be if you want to do the face of the league conversation, he could be the face of the league.
Yeah.
When it comes to that conversation, do you think nationally Jason Tatum is disrespected?
I think he's undermined a lot. Yeah, I think it just is a part of part and parcel to who Jason Tatum's game is, which is that he's an all-around player. He's a really good defender. He's a great offensive player. He's a great distributor. Like, he does everything really well, but he's not a smaller guy who can shoot from the logo. He's not the massive Giannis or the guy who looks like he pounds Budweiser heavies after a game like Luka. Like, there's not this one thing about him that jumps out to people where they can, like, casually just point that out as a fan. He's just all around.
People.
He's all around, like, got this beautiful game like Tim Duncan.
Jrue Holiday has been dealing, apparently, with the same finger injury that Sean McDonough told us about 57 times on this show. What are you hearing about him?
So he did practice yesterday, according to Joe Mazzulla. So that is a positive. I'm very skeptical about this injury just because they're talking about it as if it's day-to-day, game-to-game. And it just seems like, especially with a 34-year-old guard, that it's something that has to be managed. You know, I have no idea what the intensity of the mallet finger injury is, but it's something that I think you don't play with when you want Jrue Holiday on a championship contending team.
Until he gets to the point where it's so. Do you?
Courtney, what are you hearing about the injury?
Thank you for asking, Curtis. I'm hearing it's bad.
Do you think it's a pain?
Cocoa bomb.
Do you think it's a pain thing right now? Like, more about the pain? Because I feel like a lot of NBA players kind of have, whether it's mallet finger or, you know, fingers going in a million different directions, and they're still able to play. But do you think it's more of a pain thing now?
I think I'm not a doctor, but it sounds like it's like muscular, like it's a ligament thing where you don't want to lose any. It's his pinky finger, but you don't want to lose anything that's going to mess with your shooting or ball handling or anything like that. So I don't think it's just a pain tolerance thing. I think it's you don't want to start messing with how you can handle the ball.
Because it is on his right hand, so that's kind of the one thing. And kind of going back to the Luka thing, I think the thing that is going to have to happen with Luka Doncic is what we saw with him in Dallas. Can he carry a team and keep a team good enough to be in the argument of, like, all right, he could be the face of the league once LeBron leaves and all that, especially when he's playing for the Lakers, because you know how many people love the Lakers. There's so many, like, fair weather fans. I was getting my bandwagon
and fair.
Yeah. There's so many of those out there when it comes to the Lakers. All eyes are going to be on him.
I'm not recovering from bad weather.
Yeah. I was getting bandwagon and fair weather kind of mixed up.
We got it.
Jrue injury aside, Kristaps also doubtful for tonight, and then you look at Jason and Jalen, they're questionable. Does that worry you, or is that just management?
I would guess that's management outside of Jrue. I don't know about Kristaps. He did practice yesterday, but he's been out a couple games with non-COVID illness, and otherwise, it's the first night of a back-to-back, and you got the Lakers coming on Saturday. I'd guess with the Jays, a lot of that is load management.
Probably the Noro. Very difficult to recover.
You think Porzingis has the Noro?
Probably. I mean, everybody has the Noro.
Dude, I got it last spring, it was no joke.
Let me tell you something.
Only plus side?
You have to be in tip-top shape to recover.
I will say it was leading up to my wedding, so it was fantastic.
You probably liked it.
I didn't have to diet.
Yeah, that's nice. I said to Greg, I'm like, did you weigh yourself right after? That would have been the first thing I did.
I actually threw my scale out months ago.
Oh.
Okay. Well, it's great to see you.
Great to see you guys.
Thank you so much. And get back out there and start tanning as long as Wiggy approves.
Go ahead.
All right.
Do your thing. Don't get burnt.
That is our Celtics insider, Mego. She's with us every Wednesday.